Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, first I want to say that I think you have been very thoughtful and forthcoming today, and I'm not yet ready to say that I'm going to give the Fed this new power, but I think the points you made in your first answer were very compelling. So I'm conflicted about the independence, which I think has served us so well through the years, but yet the potential compromising of that by going into more regulation. Secondly, I think that your proposal is attempting to do something that is good. I'm not sure when the devilish details come out that it will be so, but trying to level the playing field between banks and S&Ls surely was one of your purposes, and also streamlining the whole oversight of that. But I think S&Ls have had a special place in our country, and I want to make sure that we still have the services that they have been so able to give, which really started out being mortgages, but evolved into more. I also want to make the point that I agree with Senator Schumer, who said something earlier today that was said to me by one of the great bankers in our state, Tom Frost, who is also now the biggest independent banker and has been very successful with the Frost Bank. And he said, as long as you don't require a person who originates a mortgage to keep part of it, you are going to have problems. And I think keeping a part of it in the originator is a very important concept that we need to incorporate into a reform. Plus, of course, servicers and second servicers and how many iterations of that they have. I think we need to have skin in the game, as it is described, for everyone that is connected with a mortgage going forward. I want to switch just for a moment for my question on TARP, and that is to say that every one of us who was here last fall feels that we were misled by the original intention of the Troubled Asset Relief Program, which was to take the money to buy troubled assets in banks to stabilize the banking industry. Last year, that was proliferating into other areas, and it has continued in your administration as well. So we now have 11 different programs, none of which is buying assets of banks that are troubled. So my question is this: as Senator Bunning mentioned, you will be able to sign a paper and extend TARP for 10 months at the end of this year. And you said you weren't sure if you were going to. This is my question. Do you believe that these 11 funds that have been a part of TARP, that were not all a part of the original purpose of TARP, should have more congressional oversight? Because I'm looking at introducing legislation that would provide that. And if so, do you think it would be wise for Congress to be able to vote on all of the 11 new programs? Or if not, what do you think would be the proper role of Congress? Because I'm not comfortable with, having been misled last year, then currently going for 10 months and then, well, actually about 6 or 7 months plus another year in something that seems to have no congressional oversight.
Senator, at the beginning of this administration, we said that there were 5 areas where we thought it was going to be appropriate to consider using TARP authority Congress provided, and those were to help address the housing crisis, to make sure banks have capital where they need capital, to help support bringing back the securitization markets, targeted programs for small business lending, and a program to help restart these markets for loans on the balance sheets of banks. Now, we have moved forward to put in place programs in each of those areas, as we said we would do. We're on the verge of putting in place the last of those programs, which is to help create a set of funds to help restart these markets for You call them toxic. We call them legacy assets. These programs are subjected to an enormous amount of carefully designed oversight, not just by the Congressional Oversight Panel you provided, you established under statute, but also by a Special Inspector General at the Treasury and by the GAO. They report monthly on everything we're doing. We have been fully transparent about the specific terms underpinning each of these programs so that everyone can look at exactly what we're doing and measure their impact and their success. We are looking very carefully at every recommendations those oversight bodies make for bringing more transparency and accountability to them, and where we think they make sense and we can do them, we have adapted those recommendations, and we'll keep doing that. It is hard to know what might be necessary in the future in terms of using this authority, if any further use would be required. But my sense is that if we need to do more in the future, that anything we do will fall within those core basic framework, which, to reduce them, are about making sure the banking system has capital and making sure these credit markets are getting going again.
So further congressional oversight would not be necessary or prudent in your view?
Well, I don't, again, I think you've put in place an enormously powerful set of oversight mechanisms, and I think those have done a very good job of helping provide not just a second pair of eyes, but 3 additional sets of eyes looking over everything we do. Of course, we'd be happy to look at ways to sort of strengthen accountability and transparency because it's important to our credibility too, but I don't believe you need new legislation in this area.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.